Welcome to Whiteouts. I'm Aaron White. This week I'll take a look back at last Friday's Holmes DG night at Alexandra Park. Then I'll preview Morrinsville Race Night at Cambridge Raceway this Thursday with my guest selector Barry Lichter, editor of New Zealand's most dynamic new racing website at lincolnfarms.co.nz. Then I'll have a look through this week's text around at the end of the podcast. Thanks for joining me.
The big Christmas do is coming to Cambridge Raceway on Wednesday the 28th of November and Thursday the 20th of December. Packages are available to the Skyline Lounge at $80 per person for a buffet meal or the Alf Walsh Lounge at $40 per person for a summer barbecue meal. Packages include a race book, complimentary drink and dessert. Further information and bookings head to cambridgeraceway.co.nz for the big Christmas do, November 28th and December 20th.
Let's start by heading back to last Friday night's Holmes DG night at Alexandra Park. What a fantastic night it turned out to be for Hall of Fame driver Maurice McKendry, who claimed 6 victories on the programme, including the 2 feature races. The Kerry Hoggard Memorial, the Holmes DG, was secured by Let's Elope for Taupaki trainers Frank Cooney and Tate Hopkins. That was his first win since the 8th of April 2017 at Mildura in Victoria, and his first in New Zealand since the 17th of October 2014. It was the son of Real Desire's 25th career victory. Now 10 Let's Elope is a former Group 1 Sires Stakes 2-year-old final winner, and he won on 11 occasions in Australia, including the Group 3 Tasmania Cup twice. Let's Elope stepped nicely and settled just in front of midfield before Maurice made the race-winning move to take up the ascendancy just prior to completing the first lap of the 2 3/4 lap journey. Let's Elope paced the 2,700 metres in a 21.7 mile rate, the last 800 metres in 55.4 and the final 400 metres in 27.5. Let's Elope slipped away on the point of the home turn and scored with authority in the end. Jack's Legend would have pleased his connections with him finding the line strongly in defeat in the hands of Zachary Butcher, and Northview Hustler fought well for his third placing with Andre Potama in the sulky. The feature trot was always going to be an intriguing battle with the class trotters Le Monde and Temporale off 40-metre handicaps over the sprint trip of 2,200 metres. Le Monde, last season's Anzac Cup winner and national record holder for 2,200 metres off a stand, settled one spot in front of Temporale, and at the end of the race, that was critical. The race was cut out in a 2.1 mile rate, which was just a smidgen outside of Le Monde and Dr. Hook's national record. The last half mile was covered in 58.9 and the final quarter 30.1. Temporale lost no admirers in defeat, and the almighty Johnson fought bravely for his placing after sitting parked for the majority of the trip. The first of the Magic Man's victories came in race 3, the 2-mile trot on the card with the Michelle Wallace and Bernie Hackett prepared Ash. The gelding of the Prez gained another last stride win at Alexandra Park in a 8.5 mile rate. That was Ash's third victory and looks to have a bright future in the North Island. Red Reactor, an Auckland Reactor 4-year-old, trained by Maurice himself, produced a sharp sprint to take the 5th event on the program. He covered the 2,200 metres in a 157.1 mile rate, which was the quickest of the night for the 2 1/4 lap journey, home in 57.6 and 27.9. The 5th Maurice McKendry win came aboard the extremely talented Chevron Supreme. The Big Jim filly trained by Robert Dunn gave her army of supporters a few heart palpitations when galloping in the score-up, though. She found her spot on the yellow bar arm by the time starter Frank Phelan turned on the green light. She comfortably led within the first 400 metres of the contest and remained unbeaten in a 159 mile rate. The Magic Man's last success came aboard the Ross Painter prepared Auckland Reactor Square Gator as free as air. She backed up a game mile night second 2 weeks prior with Friday's convincing victory. She cut out the 2,200 metre trip in a 27.2 mile rate. Zachary Butcher opened Holmes DG night with grabbing the first couple of races. The Peter and Vaughan Blanchard trained Agostini, a son of Majestic Sun, trotted faultlessly and displayed a touch of class to secure the first on the program in a 25.7 mile rate, scoring by 5 lengths, and Bounty Lady, a mare by Art Major for trainer Barry Purdon, broke her maiden status in good fashion in the second in a 158.1 mile rate. Eastern Bull, the exciting gelding by Raging Bull, chalked up his first win for trainer-driver Kyle Marshall in the fourth race. He led all the way in a strong maiden lineup covering the 2200 metres in a 158.1 mile rate. Eastern Bull certainly has the scope to go through the grades. The Harwater train Rory McIlroy returned to winning form in the ninth race on the program, aided by a lovely Tony the Iceman Hurley drive. The Willie Fleming prepared Grin from Ear gelding won in a 159.6 mile rate for the 2 1/4 lap trip. Our drivers of the night, Maurice McKendry, the New Zealand Trotting Hall of Fame sponsored reinsman, 6 victories on the card. Zachary Butcher picked up a brace. Trainer of the night was Ross Painter with 2 wins, including the feature trot with Le Monde. And Stallion of the night was Auckland Reactor, getting the rare 1 pacing, 1 trotting double. My black book is out of Holmes DG night. Well, race 2, a couple come out of there. A Dew Flirt, who made a very good impression in his first Northern appearance when finishing stoutly to place second. And Mark Brad, well, surely he's going to receive a draw to suit soon. And Raptors Flight makes it back into the black book again after bungling the start in the Holmes DG and running home well for 4th. Just a note too, Agostini, Bounty Lady, Ash, Eastern Bull and Chevron Supreme were all given out in last week's text around on the Whiteout podcast.
The Big Christmas Do is coming to Cambridge Raceway on Wednesday the 28th of November and Thursday the 20th of December. Packages are available to the Skyline Lounge at $80 per person for a buffet meal or the Alf Walsh Lounge for $40 for a summer barbecue meal. Packages include a race book, complimentary drink and dessert. For further information and bookings, head to cambridgeraceway.co.nz for the Big Christmas Do, November the 28th and December the 20th.
Right, let's have a look at the Morrinsville race night this Thursday at Cambridge Raceway. My guest selector this week is Barry Lichter, editor of New Zealand's newest and most dynamic racing website at lincolnfarms.co.nz. How's it going, Barry?
How are you doing, Aaron? All very well?
Yeah, very, very good this end. Tell us more about the new website you're associated with.
Well, I think it's a pretty decent website, Aaron. We put it together in about 5 weeks, and it's basically modelled on my old news and tip site, Tiger Multi. Ironically, John Street and Lincoln Farms were very good supporting me during that, and so as their business manager, Ian Middleton says, it's a bit of karma that I'm now helping them on their websites. It basically runs through every part of Lincoln Farms' operation, and as you're aware, it's a very big operation. They race more than 100 horses here and in Singapore, harness and gallops, and also stand the stallions in Lincoln. So there's heaps and heaps to write about. One of the focuses we're putting on the site is their special partnerships, and I'm not sure how much you know about it, Aaron, but it's an amazing scheme, one that I'm not aware of that's copied anywhere else in the world, where they basically try and bring new people into racing horses at a cost that they can afford. Where they fix the training costs. So you and I are used to getting bills with the training fees and the vet fees and the floating fees and a myriad of other costs. None of their owners get any of that. They pay a minimum amount. I think it's $2,300 a month for a horse for harness. So if one of their owners has 5%, they're only paying like $100 a month, which most people pay for when they're having their coffees.
Yeah.
And it's not, these aren't mate horses they're getting into there, and these are pretty well-bred horses. John Street at the sales, when he sees one he likes, he tends to buy it. So they're getting access to really good bloodstock at a minimal cost, and they basically get a money-back guarantee. Lincoln Farms guarantees these people will have a winner. They don't put anybody into a horse until they know it's got the ability. But you and I, we buy a horse at the sales, and we spend 2 years getting to the races and find out it's no good. They don't get put into a horse until Lincoln Farms knows that it's got the ability and can win a race. And if for some reason it's not as good as they think, or they sell it, they immediately either you get your money back or they put you into another horse. So it's an amazing system, which is, you should see the fun these people are having. I was blown away last week. I sat in Lincoln Farms' room, on the course where the Stipes used to be. They've got an office there. There was a stream of these owners coming in, just ordinary Joe Blows from the street, made hugely welcome by John and Lynn, given drinks. It's just like a huge big family, and everybody just having a ball. You couldn't imagine a better way to race a horse. With having fun with friends that you didn't have before, and it's not costing a lot of money.
Yeah, dead right. Just a wonderful concept and a great way to get new people into this fabulous sport of harness racing.
That's what he's trying to do. I mean, he's had a huge amount of success over the years. I mean, he won the Auckland Cup with Sir Lincoln. He's won a Karaka Million with Fort Lincoln. He's had, he won the Breeders' Crown with King of Swing last year. He's won derbies with Badlands Butte. So he's enjoyed all of this, and he wants other people to share the fun too. And you should see the fun these guys are having. There was a group there last week who had got a share in Northview Hustler called the Four League Syndicate, and there's 8 blokes from Waikato, just normal people like you and I. They put in $20 a week, and they're racing a horse who hopefully is getting into the Trotting Cup. And, as John says, watching these people after the race, jumping up and down and high-fiving and hugging, gives him more of a thrill than he used to get, just racing it by himself.
Yeah, great. And it's, as you mentioned too, just that fixed price of knowing what you've got to pay per month, that's the best way of doing things, isn't it?
It is. These guys down there, they were putting in $20 a week. They're now actually putting in $30 a week to guarantee that they can have a trip down to the Cup Week every year. And that pays for their accommodation and their booze. And there seems to be plenty of booze drink.
All right, now about the website. Now I've been through it, very easy to navigate, and as you mentioned, there's something for everybody who loves racing. You've got your harness, your gallops with the Lincoln Farms things, but it's not just Lincoln Farms. You're writing stories about other stuff there too, aren't you, Barry?
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff about horses that are bred by Sir Lincoln, of course, because we're trying to promote the stallion as well. He's had a fantastic start to his career. He hasn't had any big race winners yet, but he had 16 winners from only 39 starters last season. So every time a horse by Sir Lincoln wins, there's usually a good story behind it and why people sent their stallion there, their mare there. And of course, we're promoting all kinds of things from the ownership point of view that, they'd like more people to breed to Sir Lincoln. So, but there's, as you say, there's things for punters. I mean, we have every race meeting, the Lincoln Farms trainers tip out what, their winners or the horses, how they think their horses are going to go. That's both in gallops and harness. So on the site now, you've got Ray Green talking about how he thinks Benedaka will go at Cambridge and how he thinks Lincoln's Girl will go. Tomorrow there'll be a story up there about how they think a horse called Bushwick will go at Town on Friday, and then Lisa Ladd will be there talking about the horses she's racing at Woodville on Thursday, and also Otaki on Sunday, and the Singapore trainers as well. So if you're a punter, you can hear the inside information right from the trainers' mouths about all the Lincoln Farms horses. If you're not a punter, there's heaps of interesting stuff there as well. I mean, there are details there on profiles on the trainers and the drivers and all the horses that they own. There are details and photographs of them. All the winners they've had since day dot, dating back 20 years, are there listed. There's a gallery of fantastic photos, many taken by Chris Donnell, who we all know is one of the best in the business. There's a Hall of Fame there on all the Group 1 winners. So there's a huge amount of stuff, not just current, but also the operation in the past, if people aren't familiar with Lincoln Farms.
Yeah, folks, get online, lincolnfarms.co.nz. Great website there, and as Barry's mentioned, some wonderful information coming through on the harness, the gallops, of course, the Singapore end. As you mentioned, Ray Green on there talking about his charges this week. He'll be there each week talking about his charges, where they are racing around the nation. And as you mentioned, to have a horse getting close to getting into the Cup field, that's certainly something to follow as well.
Yeah, there's plenty of news about Northview Hustler at the moment. They're still sort of just on the verge of getting into the field. Not sure if they're going to make it, so all these owners are on tenterhooks watching the rankings each week. He's sits 18th at the moment, but he's got Sheriff ahead of him, who hasn't raced yet this season. He's due to race in the Flying Stakes on Monday. And Alleluia, former Kiwi horse who's now domiciled in Queensland. He ran 4th at Redcliffe on Saturday night. And he needs, I think it's No Dr. Need is the last horse on the cusp at the moment, but he's kind of not there, but there at the moment. So until the next ranking list comes out, they're not quite sure. So he didn't get on a plane today. He might get on a plane on Thursday, but they're just a bit cautious about taking him down there when they don't know he's in the field or not, because quite keen on the Inter-Dominions in Melbourne as well. So he might, if he doesn't make the Cup, he certainly won't race during Cup Week. He'll head straight to Melbourne. With news today, Aaron, that Bonian Western has been sold to Perth. So he'll compete in the Sire Stakes before he goes, but he's now got a new owner in Perth. And that's another windfall for these people that race syndicates, because we're talking pretty big money here. So these people, they have a chance of getting into horses who are sold for big money, and then they get onto another one, and that quite often they're sold for big money too.
Yep, and as you know, once you've caught the bug, you can never get rid of the bug.
No, and they've got people there that have been going for quite a while now. There's one syndicate of 10 women from Hurrilla who have been racing for 17 years now, and they all get together and have a heap of fun. They recently had girlfriends, but they were working and could never get to the races, so they decided to get into trotters so they could go to the races.
All right, we'll keep up with all of that progress and more. LincolnFarms.co.nz. It's looking good, Barry. Let's have a look Thursday night. Morrinsville night at Cambridge Raceway. It is a 10-race program, double start on races 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9. Trebles 1, 4 and 8, the quaddies 2 and 7. $25,000 guaranteed in the fast track insurance pick 6 starting on race number 5. That's where the place 6 competition will start on Thursday night as well. And the opener, Barry, what do you like in the first?
I suppose Whitehaven Beach and Women in League are the two obvious ones. Aaron, Women in League was pretty strong late last time, wasn't she, for Anna Donnelly? But if I was having a little sneaky bet, I think I'd be looking at Rosado. It's been costly for people, but it was pretty unlucky 2 starts back at Auckland. It didn't really get a run at them until quite late. And this is the first time it's had a decent fall all season. I mean, it's drawn 9, 9, 8 and 9. And it's had excuses most of the time too. It locked wheels, fall back, it choked down then. After that, so I think from barrier 2 it'll get a much better run, and I think it could be in it.
All right, a nice each-way play around the 2, Rosado. In the way of 4 Women in League, I thought she could go one better, break her maiden status. In the first, the changeover mare after a good second in behind Ryan's Gal. Like you, I do like Rosado from a much improved draw. Thursday night there, Shane Butcher for Morrinsville trainer Roger Villiger. Put in the 5, Whitehaven Beach. Does race well at Cambridge, Craig Smith, and 7 Bugger Lugs returned with a good third and behind Kundana Gold a fortnight ago, Peter Ferguson. 4, 2, 5, 7 for me. The second to open the early quaddie, Barry, who do you like in this?
I'd go Gibson Girl, I think, Aaron. I actually raced one that was related to this. It's out of Carpenter's Daughter. Remember who won the Breeders' Crown?
Yes.
I raced Merlin Bromack, who was she was a bit of delight out of the same dam, so she had some ability, but she wasn't very big. Gibson Girl was pretty good last start. I know she had a decent draw, and this is much harder in the second row, but she went quite good time last time, and I think she looks like she's a pretty progressive type. Behind that, I'd put in things like probably Red Terror next, and maybe Express Play.
Yeah, I went the way of 13, Gibson Girl as well. I think she might have a class edge over there. She's a nice Better's Delight filly going the right way for Steve Telfer, David Butcher to do the driving. Express Play, much better effort at Cambridge a fortnight ago. Joshua Dickey for Frank Cooney and Tate Hopkins. Put on the 11, Red Terror, who worked well to its Cambridge success 2 weeks back, Kyle Marshall. And 7, Janet Guthrie. Well, I keep looking at her track form, 4 wins from 9 starts at Cambridge. So you've got to have her somewhere in your combinations calculation. Owen Gillies. 13, Gibson Girl to be 5, 11 and 7 for me. To the third, others over the 2,200 metres for the paces here, Barry. And there's a bit of Auckland form coming through, a bit of trial and workout form through this race as well. How did you see the third?
There's one in here which I think you've definitely got to keep on side, and that's the Blue Beat. You might remember that last start she was absolutely smashed with the bookmakers. On the back of some pretty decent workout form, and I think you're going to have to follow up on that again. She got back and galloped in that Cambridge debut and came 7 wide on the turn and galloped again when she was hanging in. So obviously still quite green, but she showed at the workout she had real good speed. Came home in 56 and 27 one day. So I think for Adrian Matthews, that's the one I'd put on top.
All right, you're with the Blue Beat. I didn't find it in 4. I thought it was a tricky maid. No, in the way of Tempo Rose, I thought last 3 starts at Alexandra Park, she's shown nice improvement. The Better's Delight filly, David Butcher, Steve Telfer. Last start, 5th, was in behind Bounty Lady, a good form line. 10 Aha Reaction. 1-2 workouts leading up to Thursday's resumption. Morris McHenry, Robert Dunn. The 4 Pembroke Charlie, now trained locally by Kyle Marshall, stepped out at the workouts on Saturday for a good placing. And 11, Blake. I know Nicky Chilcott's got a lot of time for the son of Better's Delight, but he got it wrong last time, again 2 weeks ago. But he was travelling okay to the end of the back straight when he put in that mistake. So we'll give him another go. Blake, number 11, 6, 10, 4 and 11. For me, to the 4th on the program here, Barry, this over the 2,700 metres for the junior drivers. What do you like?
Well, I wasn't game enough to pick Blake in that last, but I reckon Nicky's got the winner of this race, and I think it could be a quite decent odds, and that's Jack Tarr on the second row. He's been working in really good form at Cambridge in the last 2 weeks. Nessie Turin's been driving him, and he actually sat Hart last Saturday and powered home to win. So he's another one of those horses raced by a syndicate, Nicky's Summer Fun syndicate. He's in pretty good nick, and top driver, junior driver Dylan Ferguson on. I think he's definitely the one to beat. I'd put the Lone Ranger in there as well. He didn't have much of a luck at Auckland. Slightly better drawn here, but he's a little bit of a gunner, isn't he? So I wouldn't be banking too much on him, and I'd probably stick Azza in from that number one draw, because you know how draws are at Cambridge. Number one's always a big asset.
Dead right, especially when it comes to 2,700 metres and with junior drivers. I did put him on top, actually, Azza, after a good return to racing for new trainer Scott Phelan last week at Alexandra Park. Nathan Purden to do the driving there. Sixth, the Lone Ranger. Well, he's a hard pony to follow, isn't he? The son of sports rider Benjamin Butcher, but might be in the right race on Thursday night. Brian's Gal, I thought, was a good enough win fresh up 2 weeks ago. He's going to track Azza throughout on the marker line. And Bubble Gum was a good third at Alexandra Park last week. Andrew Drake, 1, 6, 9 and 4 for me. We opened pick 6 at 9 minutes after 7, the first leg. Very nice maiden field here, Barry. How do you see the fifth on the card, first leg of pick 6?
Yeah, I think a real tough start to pick 6. And I'd be tempted to go with Ideal Tiger. Zach was a bit unlucky, I think, last time. He got a check at about the 500 when the horse galloped in front of him, which just held him up a little bit. And he was flying home late, just failed to pick up Lincoln Farms Abraham. But I think from that barrier draw, I think, and with another run under his belt, I think he's just about on the verge of it. Bit of a muchness for the rest of them. Perhaps she's Pucker next. And I don't know that you need Willie Barker, which is the Lincoln Farms runner. He was quite disappointing in Auckland first up after some good trial form. It might just need a little bit more racing. He's pretty well bred and he has got some ability, but they're saying that they might punch forward from gate 6 on Thursday night, because most of his good stuff at the workouts has been from the top end. So he might end up somewhere near the front, but I'm not sure that he's quite ready to win yet.
All right, I went the way of 7 O'Needon Punter, Scott Phelan for Barry Purden. Comes out of Eastern Bulls race last Friday night at Alexandra Park. Made it into the Black Book on debut after doing a couple of things wrong and then still finishing well for third. Son of Better's Delight. 3 Ideal Tiger from the draw. Certainly can go one better than he did a couple of weeks ago, and behind Abraham Zachary Butcher. So looking for a Barry Purden Quinella. About turn, well, it's runner-up prize at Alexandra Park 2 starts ago was in behind Where There's a Will. It's not a bad form line. Back to Cambridge Raceway he goes for a local trainer, Mike Berger, the son of Changeover. And Chosen Major and Art Major gelding that has been trialling up okay. Gets the coveted barrier 1. Shane Butcher for Ohalpo trainer Peter Brown. So I went 7, 3, 5 and 1, and I actually made O'Needon Punter my bet of the night on Thursday night. To the 6th, Trotters, 2,200 metres.
Oh, this is easy, Aaron. There's a grey Monkey Bones in there, which I've got to pick first, and that's Sir George Bowen. I'm a bit of a fan of the Monkey Bones, and he was pretty dominant in his win last time. I think very progressive horse who won't find this any harder than his last start, so he'd go on top for me. Behind him, I'd put probably My Boy Boo. He's got the ability, and Promise into Power is always pretty good in this kind of field.
All right, we better let everybody in on the secret. You've sent the wonderful mare to Monkey Bones, and you've got a very nice foal that's going to qualify on Thursday night too.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, she's called Monkey Selfie by Monkey Bones out of Landra's Image, so we thought that was quite an appropriate name, and there's a bit of a story behind that. But she's going really well for Nikki. She's quite excited about her potential, so hopefully she'll show something on Thursday, and then we can give her a bit of a spell and then bring her back.
All right, we'll be certainly tracking her progress with a lot of interest. Yeah, I'm with Sir George Bowen. I think he can go back-to-back. That was a pretty comprehensive win there a fortnight ago. Derek Ball over the 6, My Boy Boo. James Stormont for Andrew Sharp. 7, Primus into Pare. Scott Phelan Ross Painter has been racing well enough on its own track of late to be a major player. And another horse that's very hard to catch, Little Bro, put up a good run mile night at Alexandra Park, went third and behind What a Boy. Shane Butcher for Barry Cullen. He could be a blowout there in the second leg of pick 6. 5, 6, 7 and 9 for me. The late quaddie starts on race 7 here, Barry. We're back over the 2,200 metres. Unfortunately, the race has been robbed of 2 horses that would have had plenty of money on them, been the Anna Donnelly Pier Prime Silver and Bequero. They'll last for another day, but take those 2 out, it's still an even little lineup.
It is, but I think I'd make this one my bet of the night, Aaron, and that's Rain Man. He's been trialling up pretty well at booking in the last few weeks, and first up for Red Man, but he raced much better fields in this last campaign and did it well. Second line draw is against him, of course, but I think, at the ratings, he's got quite a big advantage over this field, so he could go on top. I'd put Lincoln Farms as Lincoln's girl in the second. Don't know that she can beat Rain Man, but she's had a pretty decent preparation for this. She's been to the workouts in each of the last 5 weeks and been improving all the time. Zach drove up very quietly in the last workout last Saturday and just ran a sprint home the last 200, and she was pretty powerful, looked really good. She's got a really good sprint on her, but can get a little bit keen and over race. So just be interesting to see what she does first time. But I'd put her in the second and possibly Arden's Voyager second, Arden's Voyager third.
All right, Snap, I went that way as well. Rain Man with Bequero out of the race. I'm a big fan of the Shadow Play mare, but she'll last for another day. Bequero, yep. So that puts me on to Rain Man, the American Ideal gelding. As you mentioned, the workout form's been good. David Butcher for Stephen Reed. Lincoln's Girl, she's got enough tactical speed to get nice and handy early. Andre Potama. Arden Voyager, he's won his last two trips south of the Bombays for Barry Purdon, Zachary Butcher aboard. Will take charge. I see he's had the stable change to David and Claire McGowan. David to do the driving on the Washington VC gelding. Had his first look at Cambridge a fortnight ago. An okay run there. Would have learnt a bit about the circuit on that. If he can get a wee bit of luck from the inside of the second, he'll be finishing on Will Take Charge. 10 to beat 3, 4 and 9. Race 8 opens the final treble on the program. Trotters here over the 2,200 metres. The way the handicaps have fallen in this race, it's going to be another very intriguing trot.
Yes, it's a little bit tricky, but I'd go for the back marker El Parada. Big driving change here with Magic Man. I drove 6 McKendry on it. Last time it was in a junior drivers race and got quite badly checked and held up when Waterboy broke in front of it at the 400. Cost it a couple of lengths and was really powering home. So I'd be putting that one on top. He's a lot of ability when he's right this horse. Second would be Jomo, just on the strength of his very safe and fast beginnings, and probably the best horse in the race, but hasn't won for a while. Leon's Boy, I'd put him third.
Yeah, it'd be great to have Leon's Boy back in winning form. I was with the El Parada last 2 runs at Cambridge, yielded a nice win back on the 6th of September. Good second when roaring home and behind Rise to Success 2 weeks ago, as you mentioned. Maurice McKendry on board this week. The Prince, good effort at Cambridge when he was last there and behind Sir George Bowen, Andre Potama. Okay run at the park last week. The 9 Leanne's Boy, the son of Armbro Invasion. It'd be great to have him back in the winner's circle. Mango may well suit the horse as well. So Brent Mangos to do the driving on Leanne's Boy on Thursday. And 7 Mortician, of course, won that historic race at Alexandra Park, the first stand start mile event we've had there for some 5 decades out of the park. Did it in pretty good style there, Peter Ferguson, to do the driving. 10, 3, 9 and 7. Barry, who won that mile event 50 years ago?
Yeah.
You were just a little boy back then. You know, I had to go through the Hall of Fame books to try and find it. All right, let's go to the second to last on the card. 1,700 metres, and it's a moderate lineup here, so draws could be critical. Who did you find in the second to last on the card?
And that's exactly what I've gone for, Aaron, the draws. I thought drawn 1, Liberal Arden, first start for Anna. She's very good at turning these southern horses around. It showed enough for Terry Schnell down south, I thought, and drawn 1, Scotty Fillon hunting it out. I thought if that can hold up, that'll be really hard to beat. And because Cambridge is such a lead trail track, I'm prepared to give Mississippi a shot. It was quite unlucky in this race last time. In the amateur drivers race, we poor Bruce Hadley was really badly held up, and when he finally did find some room, it was piercing through the middle quite strongly late. So I'd be looking for a lead trail with those 2 names.
All right, lead trail over the 1,700 metres. I was for Atom Hanover. I think he's got enough gate speed to get across them. Scott Iamanga, Dave Iamanga combining with the Righteous Hanover 7-year-old, so he could find winning form there on Thursday. 2 Red Maru, improved draw for him. Kyle Marshall for QMU trainer Cherie Wigg. 4-10 Got a Beauty, will appreciate getting out of Auckland Company for Thursday's assignment. Yeah, Liberal Arden. Anna Donnelly's had good success on the PSE-owned runners, and the son of Sir Lincoln, with the ideal draw, Scott Phelan, for the lap and 3/4 trip, has to be considered from there. 4-2, a 10 and 1 for me. To the lucky last, it is over the 2,200 metres, and again for the trotters, manners will be key.
It's a very hard race. On ability, if Jamison Sharp could step, he would absolutely deal to him. But there's a big question mark over whether he'll begin. I mean, he never looked like going to Auckland on debut as a trotter. We know he had good ability as a pacer, so I'd probably take the risk on him. Adele's got some ability. Again, galloped first up last time, but I'd put that one in. maybe above the rest will be next best. But a very, very tough race.
It certainly is. The way Jamison Shard qualified at Cambridge back on the 4th of October, if he could replicate that on Thursday night, he'd be winning. Lynn Neal doing the driving. Adele Manners will be the key around her for David McGowan. She did produce enough runs, good runs as a 2-year-old to be a definite threat. Above the rest, the 13-year-old Sundon Mare did work home okay, and behind Sir George Bowen a fortnight ago. Scott Phelan and Macarelli, fair run at the park last week, but the prior form there was okay. Simon Lawson for Matthias Hamarsson. 4, 1, 10 and 2 for me to wrap up the night. Barrier marked down Rain Man as your bet of the night, race number 7. What's a bit of value for punters on Thursday night?
Tricky. Maybe Azza in race 4 from the barrier draw. As you say, it's pretty good to draw. That's a decent draw over 2,700 metres. Nathan Purden just sit there and do nothing all the way.
Barry, keep up the fabulous work with the lincolnfarms.co.nz website. It's a must-read each and every week.
Thanks, Aaron. It's actually a must-read every day.
Must-read every day. There you go.
Absolutely. Bookmark it. Yeah. I think it's a pretty useful tool for punters, Aaron. I'd be going there if I was punting heavily and wanted to know something about a Lincoln Farms horse. Nothing gets held back with putting it all out there.
No, all good. And thanks for your time on the Whiteout podcast.
Good, Aaron. Nice to be with you.
The Big Christmas Do is coming to Cambridge Raceway on Wednesday the 28th of November and Thursday the 20th of December. Packages are available to the Skyline Lounge at $80 per person for a buffet meal, or the Alf Walsh Lounge at $40 per person for a summer barbecue meal. Packages include a race book, complimentary drink and dessert. Further information and bookings head to cambridgeraceway.co.nz for the Big Christmas Do, November 28th and December 20th.
Time to have a look at this week's text around. Chairman of Waikato Bay of Plenty Harness, Rob Lawson, says race 8, Charlemagne. Anna Donnelly, race 1, Woman in League. Ross Painter, race 10, Rave Nation. Steve Telfer, race 2, Gibson Girl. Barry Purden, race 7, Arden Voyager. Nikki Chilcott, race 4, Jack Tar. Adrian Matthews, race 2, Rainbow Wirry. Jay Abernathy, race 6, Little Bit of Love. Kyle Marshall, race 3, Pembroke Charlie. Andre Potama, race 8, The Prince. Fergus Schumacher, race 7, Done It Bad. Scott Ironmonger, race 9, Atom Hanover. Jack McKinnon's just been left with Jakira in race 9. The Wizard Todd Mitchell, race 5, About Turn. And the Magic Man Morris McHenry, last week's driver of the night, with Aha Reaction in race 3. Northern Trials and Workouts caller Cameron Shaw says race 1, Woman in League, can get him back on track. Couple of special mentions before I leave you this week. Firstly, we look at the North Island Harness Racing Owners Association Owner of the Month, and it's one David Marshall, the win of Alta Leone at Alexandra Park back on the 21st of September. So congratulations to you, David, Owner of the Month with the newly formed North Island Harness Racing Owners Association. Don't forget you can get involved there. Just $20 the yearly membership. And if I could also say a special congratulations to young Jordan Bublitz from the Waikato Kids Karts, who's been rewarded for her 7 years of dedication to the Kids Karts movement by being chosen to represent New Zealand along with Canterbury and Jacob Dunn at the Inter-Dominion Pony Trot Championship in Australia. Good luck to you, Jordan. Well deserved. And also to Jacob. Well, that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. Have a great week of harness racing. This is Aaron White, out.